Look at a Neanderthal burial site from 60,000 years ago, and you see something strange. They didn't just leave the bodies, they placed them in fetal positions, sometimes surrounded by deliberate arrangements of flowers and tools. We like to think that religion is a modern invention, a byproduct of cities and organized societies. But the evidence suggests that the urge to reach for the divine is as old as the human spirit itself. The question isn't just whether ancient humans believed in God, it's whether the architecture of our brains makes it impossible for us to believe in anything else. Let's travel back to the Upper Paleolithic, about 40,000 years ago. This is the era of the so-called creative explosion. Before this, tools were functional. After this, tools became symbols. We find the Lion Man of the Hohenstein Stadel. It is a figurine carved from mammoth ivory, standing about 12 inches tall. It has the body of a human and the head of a lion. This is a massive cognitive leap. It represents a being that does not exist in nature. It proves that early humans were capable of abstract thought. They were creating entities that existed beyond the physical world. If you can imagine a hybrid creature, you can imagine a spirit. If you can imagine a spirit, you can imagine a god. But why did they do it? Some evolutionary psychologists argue for the hyperactive agency detection device, or HAD-D. Imagine you are a human living on the savannah 50,000 years ago. You hear a rustle in the tall grass. You have two options. You can assume it is the wind, or you can assume it is a predator. If you assume it's the wind and you're wrong, you're eaten. If you assume it's a predator and you're wrong, you've just wasted a little energy. Evolution favors the person who hears the rustle and assumes there is an agent behind it. We are hardwired to look for intention. When we see a storm, we don't see atmospheric pressure changes. We see an angry force. We see an agent. We project human motives onto the non-human world because it's a survival mechanism. This is the bedrock of animism. For tens of thousands of years, humans didn't worship a distant creator. They worshipped the world. The river had a spirit. The hunt had a spirit. The fire was a living entity that demanded respect. Then came the Neolithic Revolution, roughly 12,000 years ago. Humans stopped wandering. They started farming. They built the world's first temple at Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey. These massive stone pillars, some weighing 20 tons, are decorated with carvings of foxes, snakes, and lions. This site is older than the invention of the wheel. It is older than pottery. It predates the rise of the first city-states by thousands of years. It tells us that humans built temples before they built houses. They gathered to worship long before they gathered to govern. As we transitioned to agriculture, our gods changed too. We moved away from the spirits of the wild and toward gods of order. We needed rain for our crops. We needed sun for our wheat. We started creating gods that mirrored our new social hierarchy. If you have a chieftain on earth, you need a king in the heavens. But here is the irony. Throughout the majority of human history, religion was not a belief system in the way we use that term today. You didn't choose to believe in the rain god any more than you chose to believe in the rain. It was simply the way the world worked. It was an observable fact of life. The concept of a singular, distant, moralistic God is actually quite a late arrival. It wasn't until the Axial Age, between the 8th and 2nd centuries BCE, that we see the birth of the great world religions as we recognize them today. This was the era of Confucius, the Buddha, the Hebrew prophets, and the Greek philosophers. These thinkers shifted the focus inward. They stopped asking how to appease the gods of the storm and started asking how to live a virtuous life. Religion evolved from a survival strategy into a quest for meaning. So, did ancient humans believe in God? If you define God as a bearded man in the sky, then no, that is a late, specific cultural construct. But if you define God as the belief that there is an unseen realm of power that influences the physical world, then the answer is a resounding yes. The evidence is in the burials. It is in the cave paintings of Lascaux. It is in the stone circles of the desert. We have always been a species that refuses to accept that what we see is all there is. We look at the stars and we see constellations. We look at the chaos of existence and we see a narrative. We have been trying to talk to the universe for at least 60,000 years. Perhaps the most human thing about us is not that we have the answers, but that we never stopped asking the questions. We are a species that cannot help but find meaning, even in the silence. If we eventually map every neuron in the human brain, if we explain every chemical reaction behind every prayer and every vision, will the urge to believe finally vanish? Or is the search for the divine the very thing that makes us human? Maybe we didn't invent gods because we were ignorant. Maybe we invented them because we were lonely. And in a universe as vast and as indifferent as ours, that is the most haunting realization of all.